Good evening and welcome to Free to Heal. So glad you could join us out in YouTube land. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, anywhere you go, look for us. Also look for me on hurtpeoplehighway.com. And we'll talk about all kinds of relationships and things. Free to Heal is designed to help people heal from the ravages of incarceration, not just the person who is incarcerated, but also their family members. So, and loved ones. And we have been fortunate enough, thankfully, to have the perspective often of a victim's family member. So this just is an open space. We hope that you have been looking at the videos and finding them helpful to you. One of the things I wanted to do tonight was not necessarily have a person that we interview, but I wanted to go back through a lot of the things that we've been talking about consistently and just kind of lay them out and have my folks that's here with me in the room to begin to, you know, as I call them out, speak on them. So there are certain things that that can help with surviving the ravages of incarceration. Melinda Johnson took me into the prison and started me teaching in the prison, despite the fact that my family had been involved in reentry since the late 80s. It is a subject that's near and dear to our heart, and we try very hard to make sure that we assist in that regard and help people, whether they're incarcerated or when they come home. But Melinda and I, she started talking about the fact that she believes that reentry needs to start the day you get incarcerated. The day you get incarcerated is the day you need to start preparing for release, because there will be challenges and things that you face upon release, but we just believe that if you start when you're there, you can help yourself. Get it together. Now, I got a naysayer.
Nah, that's not true.
Well, talk to him. Talk to us. Tell us.
When you start off a sentence, you got to go through a lot of changes to survive in the pen. And the last thing you're thinking about is going home, that you got a short sentence. But if you got a long sentence, you ain't thinking about that. You're thinking about survival.
So that is a well-received comment. And what it just says is, and even as we talk often about the difference between state and federal, there's a difference between a short-termer and a long-term person, right? So now that's very helpful, because what that gives our audience is to understand, if you have a long-term, what I would venture to say, anybody needs a period of an adjustment to figure out how to survive while they're in prison. Anybody, right? Because we're not accustomed to being locked up, and we certainly, for first-time people who are locked up, they don't know the rules. Like they don't even know where they are. You got to figure out what that is. But even if you're short-term or long-term, once you make that adjustment, you need to be thinking about it. Now, if a person has a life sentence, I would venture to say that process would be even longer to figure out what's what. But in light of the fact that laws have changed and things have happened where they start letting lifers out way more than they used to. So even lifers, even if for no other reason.
Yeah, but I don't mean to interrupt.
Go ahead.
I don't believe that's in a person's mind that has a life sentence and they take him to the first institution he goes to. His whole thing is to figure out survival.
You're right, and I agree with that.
He ain't coming home.
And that, I believe, with everything I have, I believe exactly what you just said. What I will say though is, once you have established that, you know what you got to do to survive.
Yeah, that takes time.
It takes time, and that's okay. That's okay. But even if you're going to be in prison and you anticipate being there for a lifetime, there are things that you can do to make your time there better. One of the things I would say is, as much as possible, stay out of the shenanigans of other people's stuff, right? So like, for example, you never got involved in nobody's gangs and nobody's stuff.
No dope,
No dope,
no rat,
no ratting,
no punks.
and no punks. You got that?
Those are 3 rules.
That's 3 things that keep
Those
you out
are
of trouble.
Those are the 3 things that can get you in the most trouble and get you killed.
Okay.
So, in case you didn't hear that, the 3 things, if you are listening to this and you are newly incarcerated, dope, ratting, talking, and punks, okay? Why? Because those things create mess. I also want to add on top of that, all the gang stuff. Some people do that because they gotta survive. I understand that. But what I would say is you also need to find something else you're gonna do to make your time. Because see, all of that contributes to how they treat you too. In other words, if you make yourself a target, if you if you make yourself a target, well, they'll be just only so happy to do that. But what I also say, I still believe what we know, which is if you begin to prepare to come home, if you look at the fact that at some point, unless again, you know you have a L, if you know you got an L, you're gonna adjust this to fit what you need. But if you know you have a date, even if it's a long date, you have to realize that at some point, you coming back out on the streets. And so what you need to do is prepare for that. So I have a list of things that we talk about all the time. And one of the things is have a plan. Develop a plan for yourself as to what it is that you plan to do when you get out. What are you trying to accomplish? What do you want to do? I know people who had plans and worked them, and it worked out very well for them. Nothing ever goes exactly according to plan. Nothing ever goes according to plan. So don't expect that you're gonna come out and everything's just gonna pop your way. Okay, I don't even know anybody that happened with it. So I wouldn't advise you to believe that.
Preparation and time.
Say that again.
Preparation and time.
Yes, which is why one of the other things that I talk about, and that's on the post-release, is patience. Okay, pre-release, do your self-work. Work on developing you as a person. Know who you are. Know what makes you tick. Know what, and I'll come right to you. Know what makes you tick, but also know what you say you want, but you respond to something different. Know yourself. No matter whether you're honest with anybody else about it, know who you are. You want to say something?
I would just, you saying pre-release, I feel like it would be like the opposite. Like
Meaning
like if you go in, right? Like let's say like a short termer might be like 2 to 5 or anywhere between 0 and 10 years. So if someone go in, right, and let's say they might be 16, anything below 18, when they come out, their adult years that groomed them have changed them in a sense. You know, like when you, so I feel like if you go in, you're not gonna know who you are.
that's why you need to spend your time trying to figure that out.
But I'm saying, how can they figure themselves out in like a confined,
So,
you know, they can't really be their true selves, because when you go in, let's say like a kid, right, they go in, you're not checking over your shoulder.
well,
You're not, you know, like, but you coming from a kid, right? You come from a teenage, so you're not aware of your surroundings like that. But when you go into jail, it changes you. Like,
well, let me say this. Prison changes everybody. Nobody comes out exactly like they went in. Nobody. But there are programs that they do offer that a lot of people don't take advantage of. But and now that they're offering these credits to get out early, people are taking more advantage of it. But even when they weren't, there were people who figured out a way on their own to develop their minds. So even, let's say you're 16, 17. Education, right? That's some of the things, something that people can do. Because one of the things I have on here, if you don't have a high school or diploma or GED, get it while you're in prison.
You know, now they demand it. It's not when you go in front of the classification. Yeah, it's not. Are you going to get a GED? You're going to get one, or you ain't getting out.
See, and these are the kinds of things. So what I'm saying to you, to your point, is that there are ways that you develop yourself. There are going to be, we know as a fact,
Just takes longer.
it takes longer, and you have to really want it. Okay, the prison system, I know a guy who, he went in very young, and they had all kinds of programs. At that point, TWA was, they were handling reservations and things like that. And he got into all of those programs. And when he went before the board said, well, we believe that you have manipulated the system. And he said, well, that's what I was supposed to do, wasn't it? You put all these programs here for me. Wasn't I supposed to take advantage of those programs? Wasn't I supposed to get him? Wasn't that for me to get involved in? So I'm saying that to say there are a lot of programs that are available, and you need to find out who you are, because the world typically doesn't move slow enough out here for us to sit down and ponder, what am I like? What do I like? Who am I? What do I want? The world don't slow down long enough for that.
I know a guy, this is a true story, no crap. He goes to the board. He doesn't have a high school diploma. They tell him, you get a high school diploma, and they denied him. 'Cause back in them days, they were denying,
Everybody.
you know, I mean, they were writing them up denials before they even seen them. And that's a fact. So he gets his high school diploma. So he goes back, and the board member tells him, so you need to go to college. So he goes to college, and because you do it in yourself, you go faster than the kids outside. So by the time his 3-year denial was over with, he had 4 years of college.
Oh, wow.
Now watch this now. He goes back to the board, and the board said, you don't have enough education. Give him another 3-year denial. He goes back, and I don't know how you say it, but
Associate's degree,
what's the highest you can get?
bachelor's, master, doctorate, PhD.
Well, anyhow, he got the top,
PhD.
right? So he goes back to the board. And the board member tells him, you don't have enough education. And finally told the board, he says, you know, why don't you kiss my ass? He says, I'm more educated and
Probably than all of them.
You
Including
sitting here
That's right.
in your family. And of course, he got the denial, but the next time he came up, he got a date.
Right.
But
See, and that matters. And so, but and let me say this about that story. So despite the fact that they meant it for bad, the knowledge that he gained in getting those degrees, they can't take it from him. They cannot take it from him. He has that knowledge, and when he got a date, when he came out, it's useful for him. So that even where people may not want to hire formerly incarcerated people, his degrees are going, in other words, they will not be able to say it's because he doesn't have the education or he's not qualified.
right.
And that's the thing about it. And that's why I say, develop yourself. If you need a GED, please. So I'm glad to know that they're requiring it. I will tell you this, that my brother, my late brother, Reverend Eugene Williams III, in all of his network of small to medium-sized churches that he had working on prisoner reentry stuff, there was a GED initiative to ask them to force people to get a GED.
I was the only one that they could not force.
Right.
And then when they did force me to school, I followed them because, you know,
right.
my handicap. But, you know, they use that thing, well, by the board's rules now, you have to have a GED or you're not, you know, let's you're a short timer and
You don't have time.
your time, no, you're going to school, but your time runs out and they have no choice but to let you go.
Right, because you have a date.
Right.
Right, you don't have an indeterminate sentence, so you have a date, so unless it doesn't,
But I've been in these programs for a while. I see guys that come out stepping. You know, they got their birth certificate was the main thing to get. They get their driver's license and they hunt for a job. They're not sitting on their ass.
Wait 1 second, because it's important to know that there is actually a law that they have to help you. A lot of people don't know. It is on the books. There is a law on the books that they are required to help you get your documentation. Again, if you're listening to this and you're inside, go to the counselors and push them to do their job. Okay, they are required to help you get those documents, and particularly if you've been gone a long time. Think about people who've been gone years and years and years, and maybe they're born out of state, and all of that, trying to get identification
Right.
in order to allow you to get a social security card, in order to allow you to work. I know people, it's taking months and months and months just trying to get that process handled. So on the post release, again,
Because
it's
without
patience.
it, you're screwed.
Yeah,
I
you
mean,
can't,
that's
because you can't identify yourself.
Right.
And then the fact that they know who you are and they have an identification doesn't help.
If
So-
they have a number and they don't know our numbers out here, we need a name.
Right, but the system knows who you are, knows your information, knows your social security number, knows all of that information,
If you're out of
but that's
state,
not valid.
you in trouble.
Yes,
I had my sister get my birth certificate before I got out of prison. Cause I already heard about all this
the process.
junk and stuff. But like I said, I've seen guys, you know, you got two guys who come out. You got the ones that really want to make it
Mm-hmm,
and they got the education,
Mhm.
and even if they don't have the education, they have the will to work.
yes,
Then you got that other sucker who thinks the world owes them something.
right,
And he ain't never going nowhere.
and they tend to be angry, and you can pick which one you are. Nobody has to decide that for you. Again, this is why I say you need to know who you are. We don't have to tell you who you are. You need to know who you are and which one of those camps you fall into. Are you the one who thinks the world owes you something? Because I'm gonna tell you from here, it's not true. Even if they do, they reneging on their debt. Okay, get over it. Get over yourself. Get yourself together and find where you belong.
I used to tell them, the ones that work
Mhm.
messing with them, I told them, you got to keep working. You got to pay your taxes for, I can get my check.
Ooh.
You know, the more jobs you got, the
The
better
more-
the chance my check keeps coming.
Oh God. Pray for him, pray for him. I don't know if it's gonna do any good. Maybe don't even waste the prayers, child. But look, I know they used to get mad at you about that. You keep working so he can get his check. Whatever. Okay. Pre-release family engagement. Try to maintain relationships with people on the outside. All the studies prove that people who are engaged while they're incarcerated stand a better chance of not going back to prison, particularly if you're a short-term person. The studies all prove it. The less engagement you have with family and people on the outside, the more likely you are to recidivate and to be a repeat offender. Don't blame other people for your current situation. Even if you are innocent of your crime, there was something that happened, some circumstance that you were in, some kind of way, somewhere that got you there. And if that's not the case, let us pray that they will find out that that's the case. But for the most part, I had a young lady tell me one time, well, if my crimey when he came and borrowed that gun from me, he should have told me, and he the only reason I'm here. Well, my question is, why were you the person he was borrowing the gun from? What kind of life was you living? And you was the one he came to borrow the gun.
You got stuff like that.
You see what I'm saying? Don't blame me and act like you innocent. No. No, you had something to do with it. So even if nothing else, if you know how not to be put in that position again, it's very important to know what your role was. And don't spend your time blaming folks. Again, spend your time trying to prepare yourself to get out of there and do something different. Develop skills that you can use when you're released. On the outside, try to get and I know they make it difficult. I know it's not easy. I know, for example, training the puppies and stuff. I know in CIW, there wasn't an inmate in that program that didn't have at least 10 years left on their sentence. They did not give those programs, but I will say, if you are staying away from the dope, the sissies and ratting and talking about people. Even administration may help you out, okay? You just keep letting them know you're interested in those things. But it's on you to do those things. It's not on the system to do anything for you.
You can learn hellacious trades inside. You got plumbing, you got machine shop,
Carpentry,
carpentry.
sewing. I had one lady, she hated sewing. She hated it. She used to stick herself with the needles and all kinds of stuff. She hated it. But I told her, I said, let me tell you something. There may be a career, you don't know it yet, but these skills are gonna come in handy. These skills are gonna come in handy. Whatever you can get, whatever skills you can get. They're even in certain institutions through the PIA program, teaching people to build circuit boards. I mean, the electronics, there are lots of things because the government makes money when inmates do things as cheap labor. Well, learn something. Get a skill that is going to help you on the outside so that your time is not just wasted. If you're spending your time right now incarcerated, worrying about the politics of who's doing what to who and all of that, chances are if you get out, you're going back, okay? Let's just be clear about that. These are the things that you can do that will help you not be that prison doesn't become an anchor around your neck that stops you and slows your entire growth. Get any certificates they have available to you. Get them. Get them. It don't matter what it is. Get the certificates. If you can get it, get it. Look at it this way. You're incarcerated. It is not a good thing. It's not a nice thing. It's not fun. But what you can do is take advantage of whatever time you have to better yourself, to prepare yourself further for being on the outside.
Whatever they offering to you, take advantage of it, because it will eventually help you.
And it also keeps you out of trouble.
And it keeps you out of trouble. That's the thing. It's going to benefit you, and it keeps you out of trouble. That's why I was thinking with the pre-release stuff. These are the things. It was one of the things I didn't write here, but I was thinking is that these are also the things that keep the COs, well, it keeps the COs off of you as much as possible, as much as that's even a possibility, right? They have a job to do, they got situations, whatever, right? But if you are not the troublemaker, if you're the one making their job easier and you appeal to them for something that you need to better yourself, and you just keep at it and keep at it, eventually you will get what you need. But that there's no guarantees. I'm not sitting here trying to tell you there's no guarantees about any of it. What I am saying is that you can help yourself by staying out of trouble, doing what you do, keeping your head down, and it's less likely you'll wind up with a shank in your back because you're minding your business. When you handling your schoolwork, doing what you got to do, you're minding your business, you're not in everybody else's business, and you're also not involved in the politics of the prison, because there's politics in all of it. So always, so that way you can help yourself. You know, what we're about again is trying to help people heal. And if you do these things, you may not even have as bad a transition as somebody who was involved in all the politics of being in prison.
And you won't have worse time doing your time.
Right, you won't have the worst time, because when you're involved in all those other things, you make the officer's job harder. You make them have to do their job. You make them work, and that could be problematic. And so now you're mad when they're focusing on you. Well, why are they rolling your cell? Well, maybe it's because of what you're doing. You see what I'm saying? Maybe it's because of who you hanging out with. Maybe it's because, right, what you doing, what they hear your conversation. You know, walls have ears, right? So who are you engaging with? What are you doing? What are you, in your own way, what are you doing? So I say, while you're incarcerated, prepare yourself to live on the outside. Now, you did all that, hooray, and you get out, and now you're home. Okay, the first word I have is patience. The system is not designed for you to just come home and have a smooth sailing and everything is good and you don't have no frustrations. That's not even life, period. I ain't never been incarcerated, but I can tell you this much. Life ain't fair. It ain't fun. Okay, it's not going to be, everything's not going to be easy. So understand what you're dealing with. Understand, but you gotta be patient. And you gotta decide, you gotta choose what you want. You gotta choose what's most important to you. Is it
Homies.
right, the homies? Is it getting out and getting employment? What is your big deal? What is it? Because now if you follow the things that we talked about pre-release and you got your GED, that's not an impediment to you anymore. If you got your birth certificate, got your documents and stuff in order, those things are not impediments to you. Now you can begin to function, but you got to choose what it is that you want to do. These are things that help you survive incarceration. Focus on your plan. If you didn't have one, get one. Stop and make a plan. Failure to plan is planning to fail. They don't say that just because it sounds cute, but it's the truth of the matter. I don't care if you've never been incarcerated. Failure to plan, right? You just planning to fail. So yeah, faith without works is dead. What you gonna do? You know, it's all good to believe in God, but what you gonna do? You see what I'm saying? A lot of times he throwing it at you like, here go your blessing, but you gotta take it and run with it, and you wanna, right? Yes, right. We trying to figure out who we talking. You, that would be you. Okay. Honesty with family and friends about what you're experiencing. Don't isolate. Like it's okay to not want to talk about things. That's your prerogative, and that's completely understood. A lot of people don't want to spend time talking about what they just been through. That is understood.
I think it's first, I think it's anger. Second, I think it's more, if I don't say nothing, it didn't happen, but it did. If I don't bring it up, nobody asks. And then the fourth, I think some people of certain things, someone be shocked and someone be ashamed.
And there are a lot of things, a lot of emotions and things. That's why I understand why people don't just come in and just vomit at the mouth. However, for simple things like you can't sleep because it's too hot in the house. My son's friend, he was like, I said, well, baby, how you doing? Oh, I'm good, Mom. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. I'm doing well. Then I start asking questions. So how you sleeping? Oh, I'm not sleeping too good. Mom, keep it too hot in the house, but I'm just glad she even let me parole there, so I don't want to complain. Okay, that's understood. But if you're not sleeping, and by this time he had been home about 6 months.
Yeah, you can't progress.
How can you
rest
with no sleep for 6 months? How can he go on a job interview or anywhere and be his best when he haven't had a good night's sleep in 6 months? Right? We're going to suffer, and these are the kinds of things. I'm not talking about the details of everything that happened or that you participated in while you were incarcerated. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the things you're experiencing right now, having been released. Those things, the thoughts you're having that about what you want to do or how things are affecting you. Whenever I talk to, so I still do a group with the men from the Francisco homes on Tuesday night on relationships. And the people that come home, I talked to a guy, he was in the group Tuesday, and he had only been home 2 Thursdays before. So I said to him, I said, you still feeling like a fish out of water? He was like, oh yeah, right? When you've been gone 18, 19 years, and now all of a sudden you had a freedom again, it feels weird, right? I know a guy, in fact, I know he doesn't mind me telling his name, Skip Townsend, second call. Skip said when he came home, he had only been down 19 months. But when he came home, he was out with his wife, and it was near count time. And he was having a full-blown anxiety attack because he knew it was count time. Consciously, he knew he wasn't in prison. Wow. But he was panicking because he thought he was going to get in trouble for missing count.
That's scary.
You know I'm an ass, right?
Yeah, pretty safe to say.
Okay. When we get a new guy, when I used to live at the house, I bet you they go to sleep and then I yell stand and count. And they jump up and I sit there and laugh my ass off.
Oh, now that was mean.
I know.
but you got a chuckle out of it, I'm sure.
Oh, you like this.
Okay. Stand and
Dan
count.
almost a fight a few times.
Okay. Some people didn't find that so funny. Okay, so but things like that will happen, and when you're experiencing that, so instead of him saying he went off on his wife, he said he went off on her, and he said he was like, I told you we need to start this early. I mean, he was really having, not understanding that this was a full-blown anxiety attack about something that wasn't real.
Yeah, you free, baby.
He wasn't incarcerated anymore, but that didn't stop him from having the feelings of those things. So know that might happen, but you need to be honest with your family and friends. Like, he owed her an apology.
True.
He owed her an apology. She didn't have no damn count time, and neither did he.
Yes, he did.
He, according to him, he had count time. Okay, so be honest with them. Create new habits that are different from the ones you followed in prison. What do I mean by that? Some people do things the same way every day in prison. They eat the same time. They eat the same time, do all of these things the same way. And so at this point, I'm suggesting, even when I'm teaching people inside of prison, exactly, change the foods you eat. Hi. Change the foods you eat, change your routine. I know a guy used to get up every morning, he'd go work out, take a shower. I mean, he had the same routine all the time. And he told me when he came home, he was doing the same thing the same way. I said, break that, try to do something different. Try to do something that's going to create a different routine for you that is not the one that you had in prison. So in the women's prison, I even suggest to them at least 30 to 45 days before you get out to start trying to break those habits. If there are certain scents, unless they are smells or things that they gave you happy memories when you were in prison, I say stop using the products and try to use different products to try to get a different smells. You want things that are going to totally seem different from what you've been used to for however long you've been in prison. And we have somebody just came in a little, I want you to, what I'm going through are the things that we've talked about through time, but just giving people the actual points. What are the things that you can do to help yourself to make it a more successful reentry? And that's one of those things. It's just, again, change your habits, change the time that you do things. If you can, as best as you can, just to give yourself, what it'll do is it'll set you up to say, okay, this is different. Everything is not the same.
Right, change your conversations.
Oh my gosh, okay.
Please change your conversation.
Whew.
Please change it. That's the first thing you should think about is
Speak up, make sure they hear you.
no, change the way you speak to people, the way you talk to people, the way you react to everything. Change all of that. Because that'll keep you in the mind frame of being in prison, and you're not in prison no more.
Cussing.
Yeah, change all that. Everything.
I ain't been in prison, I cuss all the time.
My mother told me when I came out of the youth authority, she says, you gotta quit cussing. And I didn't think I was cussing. And you know what my answer was? What the fuck are you talking about?
You didn't even know it. You didn't even know
I had
it.
no idea I was cussing.
It was just normal conversation.
Yeah.
But let me say this about that, because that is huge. Changing your conversation, changing your communication, what that requires is to change what you focus on.
Yes.
It requires you to change from prison politics, surviving in prison, being involved in prison business and shenanigans. It requires you to think about something else in order to change your conversation. One of the challenges with relationships with people who are incarcerated is oftentimes they don't have nothing to talk about.
Nope, they don't.
They don't have nothing to talk about. They won't call every Sunday, but they ain't got nothing to talk about. Ain't nothing changed. It was the same thing the week before. Okay, so with that being the case, it's a challenge for people to change, but it's very important that you change the conversation, change what you talk about.
So when I talk to people who are incarcerated, I know what they're in because I've been there.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times you really don't want to talk about what happens in there. So you call them home to hear something different. And that's why I tell people, I tell them, They be like, I don't know what to say. I said, just send pictures or something from outside. I said, because what happens in here, you really don't want to know. But we want to know what happens outside.
You wanna hear that
Yeah.
voice, that's why a lot of people call, I used to call when I could. But I didn't wanna run up no bills, you know, back in the time, it
Oh,
was
yeah.
like $15 every 3 minutes, you know,
Right.
but, just to hear my sister's voice,
I wish they would have thought like that when they ran on my bill.
yeah.
They
No,
didn't
but,
care about your bill?
Uh-uh.
The people that, they kept call. Oh,
Yeah, well, my family made a point out of what the bill cost,
I said it a lot of times.
yeah.
they didn't care about your bill though, huh?
I was out at the phone one time, and this guy was screaming at this girl on the phone because she only sent him $10. And when he got done, and he was not my race, I told him, hey dude, tell her to send it to me, I'll tell her thank you.
Hello.
He looked at me and I'm thinking, you know, screw you, because I'm not worried about you doing something to me, all that screaming you was doing on the phone. Matter of fact, the guard up there cut him off.
So that raises something for me too, that I want to say, particularly if you happen to catch this and you're incarcerated. Incarceration tends to produce selfishness, self-centeredness in
Yeah.
people, in a sense of, or a sense of entitlement that somebody on the outside owes you. I want you to understand this as a person who was on the outside. There is a level of, there's life. It's moving fast out here, and we just trying to keep up. We are struggling to keep up every single day. So know that everything somebody does for you, they're doing it because they love you or they care.
It takes a lot of time to do that, because you don't want just a box for you. I gotta get a box for your other friend, so you can get some other stuff, then I gotta get a box for your other friend. So now I'm sending you almost 3 to 4 boxes that I gotta tote all the way to this the post office. I gotta make sure the weight is right so you can get the box. And that's a lot of time and money that I'll spend to do something for you, and then you have a nerve to call me and say, oh, you forgot the.
Would care what I forgot. Well, now they don't even let you do that. Now you can only pick off the little list, and all you can do is pick off the list, and they give it to them. You don't even.
Yeah, but I'm still,
When
I'm gonna get one for him, and I'm gonna get one for him. And
See,
you know, I'm gonna get you 3, so you make sure you good for a minute,
right.
then you gotta call me back, but you're gonna call me back.
Anyway, because I forgot
There
something.
you go.
So what I'm saying is that,
Send it to him, to somebody else for him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
so the thing of it is
You
this.
gotta get the person what they want too, because that's how they get the box, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's still a lot of work off of me, that's my money. That's, you know, I'm giving my credit card number on the phone to the people.
Would say it got your name on the card.
I
So this is
tell
the
you
thing.
what,
So
my-
what I'm saying is be grateful for everything, and don't automatically assume because somebody doesn't send a package or write the letter or they missed the call that they don't care and whatever. It's not necessarily that. And
Movement. I got
nobody owes you anything, even if you're innocent of what you're convicted of. Nobody owes you anything. And so to be bitter and angry at people because you think that there's something more that they could have done is problematic. I don't like it when I hear, particularly when I was in teaching inside, and I would listen to one lady. Oh my gosh, y'all. So I think I might have told you guys this. The lady was married to a guy. She had 2 children before they got married. Then I think they had 1 or 2 children. She was incarcerated for an assault against him. He refused to testify, so he went to jail for a while for refusing to testify. He got out, he was taking care of her kids, and we were having a conversation, pretty much what we were just saying about, you know, not being ungrateful and so on and so forth, and how they might have things going on. And she said, you know, and she didn't speak a lot either, but she said, raise her hand. You know, I was just sitting here thinking, and I was listening to y'all. I was getting ready to go. When this was done, I was thinking about how I'm going, and I'm gonna get on the phone and I'm gonna break up with my dude. Really? yeah, but then it occurred to me that, well, he's got my kids. And she explained that what she would do is when she got mad with him, she would tell her sister to go get all of her kids. So she was saying how her daughter, he worked 2 jobs. He was taking the oldest daughter to cheerleading, another one to something else, all of this. And she would call her sister and say, go get my kids. But now the kids would say, we want to go home. We don't want to be with Auntie. We want to go home.
My life over here.
And I told the other inmates, I said, y'all hold me back because I'm going to go across the table with her right about now. I'm going to go across the table. I'm going to fight her. Tonight is the night. This go down. So we all laughed about it. And I said, listen, I got a homework assignment for you. I said, this is what I want you to do. I want you to go back to your cell tonight. And I want you to write down the middle. And I want you to write all the things he does for you, that he has done for you since you've been incarcerated. Because she also said he keep money on her books too. And he brings the kids to come visit.
Oh, wow.
He bring the kids to come visit, working 2 jobs, cheerleading, practice. Okay, I wanted to snatch her by her edges. Okay.
I did all that driving, and that wasn't it.
Okay, and this man working 2 jobs, and mind you, he's in there. You're in here because you assaulted him.
And can you imagine me just saying, calling you, say, go get my kids. Am I asking you what you doing?
Mm-hmm.
What you doing? You busy? Can you get them?
The assumption that her sister is just sitting there,
Wait.
available, waiting for the opportunity to go get her kids that don't want to be with her no how. And now she got a bunch of kids that got attitudes because if right, see, 12, 13-year-old, she got attitude because she got attitude because it's Monday.
I want to be at home.
And I don't want to be here.
My own room.
I don't want to be here. And my dad, which is how she said, the daughter referred to him, and my dad knows what I like. And so now you got me. So, okay, so the next week she come back. I said, did you do your homework? Yes. But I stopped at 20 because I got mad at myself. I said, thank you. Glad you did.
Yeah, good, you figured it out.
Glad you did. She said, you saved my family. I said, good. I'm glad I did because honestly, you being mad at him, and I had to explain to her, and I said, I want all you guys to realize the world is moving fast out there. We're just trying to keep up. We're trying to be what we can be to everybody and do all of what we can to survive.
One day.
In one day. I'm just saying. So stop with the, thinking that people are intentionally ignoring you. And
Yeah, Shai used to say that all the time, like, oh my God, so you really not gonna come up here this weekend? No. I work 7 days a week. I just happen to be off today and Saturday, which the night job was off the weekends, but food for less, I was off whenever they gave me off. So if I got a Saturday off, I'm gonna stay here.
oh gosh,
Call me-
one Saturday? Like, can I have that one
I'm gonna stay
Saturday?
here. I'm gonna stay here.
You know what I mean? Can I just have the one day? Okay, how did it ever occur to you that I need a day to sleep, to rest, even if I'm not asleep, just to do nothing? Know that everything somebody does for you, it takes effort. It's extra effort in addition to whatever the rest of my life is trying to make it happen. Yes.
I also think it's good for the people who are the caregivers to not feel guilty.
You do.
I know what I'm saying, like, it's
Yeah, but
okay.
you can't, you do, but then you get over it fast. What you do, like that moment, you're like, dang, I should have just went over here and drove up there. But then you get like, man, okay, I got to do this first. You get over it,
I
but you
feel like
always
for-
feel like that.
For moms, it's like harder. Cause I see like
Absolutely.
my dad, like she be going through, like, she be feeling so guilty, like, if my dad don't wanna pay for the phone or don't wanna put money on their books or something, like, it just be like so chaotic and stuff. And like, my dad's more so like, well, you letting your sons work you and they not even here. So imagine what they gonna do when they do here. Yeah. And it's like, she can't even see it because she just so used to it being.
You don't see it like that.
Yeah,
I'm
and it's
gonna
like
tell
you just see
don't
the,
see it like that at all.
and you
Well,
see
you
the
know,
guilt,
I
you just tear
I
up.
was jealous, didn't say it, but I was jealous inside of people like your husband.
Yeah.
Because he got the packages and he got the money, and it was always, when you listen to him talk, well, I'll just tell her to do this.
Oh my God, isn't that the truth?
And I would sit there and I would think, you know, if I called home and told them to do something, I mean, it's all I'm gonna hear is a click. You know what I mean? And I was told, don't ever have us send money to somebody else, because that is not gonna happen. You know, what I'm just saying is, you know, because you get in debt and crap, you know. And they told me, you get in debt, you
On your own.
fight to do whatever the hell you gotta do. One time I was in a poker game up in L3, and we played by the month, and the guy kept it on the books. And usually I did pretty good, you know, not great, but, you know, fairly good. And one month I lost $500. Well, the guy that ran the thing was a friend of mine, but he was considered the most dangerous person in the penitentiary. I mean, the guards were scared to
Cross him, huh?
right, because, you know, like he went to a family visit, well, they overbooked. Well, his wife was closer. So this guard comes in there and tells him, we're gonna, because,
Cancel yours.
right? And he looked at the guard and he said, nah, if you do, I'll kill you. And he's serious as a heart attack. He ain't, you know. So the guard goes back and gets a partner, and they come back. And the guy tells his wife to move, and he says, what, you silly sucker, you think if it's two of them, I can't kill both of you? And now they've heard of him, but they didn't know. So they had to go get the visiting lieutenant. The visiting lieutenant come out and he told them, we made a mistake. He says, if you wait till next week, he says, I'll give you a back-to-back. They're getting 3 days, they get 6 days.
Wow.
So a friend told this lieutenant, he said, that's fine. But as far as you taking something from me that I had coming,
Not gonna happen.
it ain't gonna happen. This guy, like I said, was a friend of mine. And so I'm $500 in debt.
In the debt.
And not thinking I had second best hands all month. So I asked him, I said, what the hell is your problem, dude? Because I'm thinking I'm gonna have to creep on this to kill him. And what's really hard to do. And he said, I'm not worried about you. He said, your word's good. And he says, I know I'll get my money eventually. And I told him, I said, you know, you're a prick. You know, I get $48 pay number, and I get $40 a month from home. And I owe you $500. Make a long story short, I went out at work. Guy told me, he said, man, if you get me $100 mail out, I'm pretty sure you know what those are.
What is that? I don't know what a mail out is.
That's when I get you to mail money to this person.
Okay.
So this dude tells me, he says, if I can get $100
He'll clear you
mail
down.
out, no, he'll get me 50 caps a week, $10 a cap. So I borrow $100 from this dude and get the mail out. I get the weed in and I cover all of my debt to pay the $500. Luckily, I won the money back up in the thing playing cards with that dude. But, you know, that was probably the closest I've ever come to of being killed in the pen. Because this guy put people in X-factors in the laundry.
A what?
You know how you suck the water out of the clothes?
The spin cycle.
Right. Well, they have this thing, that's all it does. he threw a guy in there and turned it on just because the guy said something stupid to him. Which sucked all of his blood out, you know, automatically killed the dude.
They don't wash the clothes in the curry, just rinse them and put them in the thing. That's it. I'm sorry, I thought y'all knew that.
So do they be getting caught when they do this?
Huh?
Do they be
Sometimes.
getting caught when they do this?
It depends.
Do
on
they
the
get
curry.
caught? Well,
It's not the card, it's do they get penalized?
Yeah,
for it?
penalized.
You know, back in the day, you could kill a guy in front of 100 people.
and nobody said a
Nobody would
word,
tell on you.
nobody would tell or anything.
Today,
That's not the
you-
case.
Yeah, today if you spit, you got 30 people to make, hey, officer, he's.
Because they're looking for to get time off of their sentences and stuff like that in different curry favor. But I want to say this. Again, you said it earlier, right? Staying out the way.
Don't get in debt.
Don't get in debt. Dope, gambling, none of that. It's going
Don't
to,
owe nobody.
don't owe anybody for anything. These are the things that help you survive incarceration, okay? Surround yourself with people that have what you want to have. When you come home, surround yourself with the people that have what you want to have,
Or strive for you, they're.
what you're striving to get.
to.
Yes, wherever you want to be, if you want to be a millionaire, find a way to hang out with some people that got money. If you want to be in the entertainment, hang around people that's in the entertainment industry. Volunteer your services, whatever it is that you want to do, where you want to be. But one thing you cannot do is still hang out with the people you hung out with that got you in trouble in the first place.
And talking mess.
Right, and again, it's that, like you say, talking. Again, what you focus on is what you're going to produce.
And
That's the bottom line.
and Don't burn your family off.
And don't run. No, please don't run your family off.
I've seen so many guys do it, and you know, they think they got something coming, and well, the hell with her and this and that. And I'm gonna tell you something: when you hit the street and you ain't got nobody to go to,
It's
You ain't
real
got
cold
no
and
help.
lonely. It's cold
Yeah.
and lonely. Another
unless you're old. If I'm gonna tell you on camera, if you're in your 70s, don't worry about it. The state's gonna let you live off them, just like they do in there.
okay, but
I get a check every month. I get $1,000 a month to live on. All my medical is paid.
Oh, okay, I got you.
So once you're in that age bracket,
Yeah. but-
Right.
But you gotta remember, you gotta work for those tricks for 30 years.
right? Because
You
see,
get
yeah, you didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
No,
didn't just
you get
automatically
someone
get a
to
check.
work here.
You got to work. You got to work for him.
Oh, wow.
You know what I made a month?
Oh.
$48.
Doing plumbing. He made $48 a month doing plumbing.
And I was a better plumber in all the freedom.
Now keep this in mind.
And they don't want to get out of work for minimum wage. I was hitting somebody.
Keep in mind
I'm gonna hit
that
them.
a licensed plumber, I think it's like 50 some dollars an hour.
And
An
more-
hour.
More if you're a government worker.
Okay, 50 some dollars an hour minimum. And he was making $48 a month serving the state
Doing
as
that job.
a plumber. So just know that, again, this is why I said earlier, pre-release things, get as many skills as you can, as many certifications as you can get them. Get them on their time and their dime. These are the things that will help you when you get out.
What were you saying?
And they don't want to come out here and work for minimum wage.
Oh, I thought you were saying, because at one point they were talking about putting minimum wage into the federal system to pay minimum, but if they do that, they'll charge for room and board.
Yeah, and
Wow.
the inmate is not gonna get, he ain't gonna gain
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah, no. Wow. Wow. Another thing is, don't be ashamed of what you don't know.
Right.
Do
Right.
not be ashamed of what you don't know.
I think that's what holds a lot of people back. It's okay to ask for help. Trust me, it's okay. So the way you can make it, don't be ashamed of that.
Because what you don't realize is that the people that are around you that care about you,
Gonna help.
we already know you don't know.
Yeah,
We don't even expect you to know. We expect that there's going to be things that you don't know. If you've been gone for years and years, if you went in as a kid and you come out 40-some years old, we expect that there are things that technologies and things that happen. We expect that if you went into 16, you never had a driver's license, never paid a car note, never paid the rent, that you don't know how. We expect that you don't know those things. And we, those of us that have supported you all this time, are going to continue to support you and help you through it. But what you got to do is step off your ego
Yeah,
and let
they-
somebody help you and ask for help.
They'll treat you like you were still 16. I told you, I'm in the casino, right? I'm 70-something years old. I tell my sister I'm going to the bathroom. I turn around and she's following me.
It's a habit.
No, she's following me and
It's a habit.
yeah, habit my ass.
It's a habit.
So I
It
go in
is.
and I come out and
It's a
she's
real
waiting.
bad habit.
She's waiting, right?
It's a real bad habit.
And I told her, what the hell? I'm 70 years old. You don't think I can find a bathroom?
But you've been gone a long time.
Well, you think I've been holding it for 30-something years?
You've been gone a long time. It's okay.
No.
It's a habit.
See, but did you hear that conversation? Now I want you to know that these two are not a couple that you hear. But just imagine the strain on a relationship with a husband and a wife, or people who are intimate related in that way, because y'all just friends,
Yeah.
right? And y'all already over here having a disagreement.
It's a habit.
But it is habitual when you are in the mode. It is very difficult, particularly when you're talking between a man and a woman. For a woman who has been trying to hold everything down while you're gone, it is extremely difficult for her to come out of that mode. It becomes a habit that she has to handle everything, including watching your back and making sure you get where you're supposed to go and get what you need.
Wait a minute, hold on. Let me, do you do all that? It's unnormal for you, but it's normal for us.
Right.
Because that's what.
And again, this is why I think this conversation and this is so relevant and important, is because why I wanted it to be recorded and where we can share with other people. Because there are people who are not in this room, but the exchange you two just had happens all the time. Relationships fail for something just that simple. Because you 70-something years old, but guess what? If he 50-something and she followed him to the damn bathroom in the casino, now he got an attitude. You know what he say? She just want to control me. She want to control me. Let me tell you something. Controlling you and $4 might get me a half a cup of coffee at Starbucks, boo. Anybody interested in controlling you? We don't get nothing to control you.
No.
Okay, that's not what it's about. You got to understand that there's another side to what you've been through. There's another side to that. And once people get into habits, which is why I was saying, try to change the habits of your routine of what you did in the pen. So I know, for example, anybody know anything about the penitentiary? No, noodles is currency.
Oh my God.
Noodles is currency. There's an organization. The man told me, I was talking to him about housing. They house a whole lot of people. Health Right 360. And the man told me he keeps a certain amount of noodles in his bottom drawer in his office because they also employ people who were incarcerated. And he said, it doesn't matter who it is. He said he's had every staff person come in and say, can I have some noodles today? It's something they miss.
Top ramen.
Top ramen. I'm just saying, they want the top ramen. He keeps it in.
I still eat them.
Listen,
Okay.
and look, it's a lot of people that do, but I'm encouraging you not to eat that shit right now. Find something else. Okay. But I'm
No,
gonna,
we ain't.
What-
I don't eat vegetables and I got enough problems.
now they get ready to fight. Listen, now the couple that ain't a couple, now they get ready to fight because she wanna buy vegetables and she wanna go to the grocery store, okay? But listen,
Yeah, as long as you want to eat them. I haven't ate a vegetable on purpose since I was 7,
You said on purpose.
because I don't like them and I'm not gonna eat them.
Maybe
Okay.
you just ain't have the right season.
That's what I'm gonna hook them up for you.
he don't
Yeah.
care.
I don't care if that sucker's green, leave it in the parking lot.
You just gotta put a flavor.
So listen,
But
but wait, I just want you to know that the man said that he would keep that thing of noodles because every now and again a person who had been incarcerated came in and they just needed the noodles. He said, and he would give them the noodles. He said, but on the other hand, if they came in 2 or 3 days wanting noodles, He said then he required them to talk to him or talk to a counselor.
Or go buy their own.
No, he wasn't worried about the money. He was worried about the psychology of it. He kept it because he kept the noodles because psychologically there was something going on. And he knew that people sometimes needed to have that feeling, whatever it was, just like I tell you about the scents, particular things you might eat, particular things you might do, those things, some of it might have been comforting. So that's why I say if you had a smell that made you happy, let's say it was this, I don't know, the smell of vanilla would happen or something amazingly, and it was something happy in prison. Okay, they get the vanilla scent, right? But if it's the everyday, ordinary thing of what you experience every day in the penitentiary, try to change that and give yourself something new so that you can build new habits. It matters. Your habits, your thoughts, what you focus on. And I really like the fact that you talked about your conversation. You must change your conversation. You gotta, I know all the time I hear people say, you know, the guys in particular, when I talk to them that are at the Francisco homes, well, out here this, and in here, in there, we don't do, in there, we don't, in there.
Yeah, but at least you know how to talk to me.
Let's be clear. In there is in there. It ain't out here. And everything that works in there is not going to apply out here. It's just that simple.
But that's all they know.
Well, but guess what? This is why I'm suggesting that we begin to learn new things. I'm suggesting that people invest their time inside trying to learn something different, okay? So that you can function out here, right? You learn different things all the time since you've been home, right? You even learn to like me.
I've
Wait,
always
example.
liked you
Yeah.
because you tell them like it is.
Don't be ashamed of the fact that you have been incarcerated. You want to say something?
I was just gonna say a fun fact was ramen noodles is currency between college students and prisoners. When you go to college, what is the first thing that you most likely you're eating like noodles? So they're trying to find like research behind it, both that prison and college students.
Well, see, in college you already had no money.
No, but it's like it's the same
Prison, you ain't
type
got no
of
money.
It's bartering.
psychological,
And it's bartering.
it's the same psychological, like the same mental aspect of it. Like that's all you got to eat. And then like prisoners, that's their like luxury. So they're trying to find some research to connect the two because it is like weird. Like when I first came home from college, I didn't like this smell of it. Like I was so, it made me throw up. And now when I eat them now, I can't. I throw up every time. I can't even eat. But when I was in college, like that was like a gourmet meal. Like it was like, oh yes. Like,
Well, and you see, you probably didn't even know how to make a spread, child. You probably was just making the regular noodles. See, she probably wasn't add, you know, all the cheese and the oysters and you know.
shit. I don't like none of that.
I had it in the trash bag. Don't put them
Man, come on now. But look,
Oh
this is
my
the thing. And now, so in my day, when I went to visit Clark College in 1980 in preparation, because I was trying to decide if I wanted to go there, one of the things I realized was, oh, this is how you can make some money. So, and that was popcorn. So I made sure that I had a popcorn pop. And when I was too trifling and missed the cafeteria for dinner,
fill you up.
well, this is the thing. No, I didn't even have to worry about that. All I had to do was pop some popcorn, sell a bag of popcorn to somebody, and I can go to Burger King and get what I wanted. But the smell of the popcorn was automatically going to draw some people. I kept the butter for the whole dorm smell, right? So I was hustling popcorn. Okay, we weren't doing ramen noodles, but I was hustling popcorn. Okay, now that was what I was good at, and like I say, I make the whole thing smell up. And then another thing I did, I had a little hot plate, and I make an egg sandwich, and my brother and them come outside the door, hey, Noreen, I'm here. You bring down a sandwich. You know what I'm saying? You hustle your food, whatever you do it. But noodles was not a thing in the 80s when I went, but I don't doubt that it is a thing now. But
now,
again,
it's like it changed. So like, well, now they giving more luxurious dorms. Like, you know, now they get a perk. Like I'm jealous. Like my cousins that's going to college now, they can get an apartment your first year. That used to be something you have to work up.
oh yeah,
Like you couldn't have your car your first year.
Right.
You know, so many things you would have to earn. But now they're changing it. And like apartment was the best thing you could do money wise. Because now if you know how to cook, like I went to a PWI, I'm the only Black kid, so I'm soul food Sundays. Like I'm gonna give you Kool-Aid. You know, white kids jumping at that stuff. Like they ain't charging money for that. So like that was a good hustle. But like now you could do that freshman year, so they don't know the struggle of eating noodles.
They don't know the
and,
struggle.
you know,
Oh,
like,
God.
yeah,
Okay, the
but-
struggle was real at the time. My money, not yours. The struggle was real. So the other thing is, don't be ashamed of having been incarcerated. And I know that's probably easier said than done, but I just implore you, don't be ashamed of that. If anything, be proud of the fact that you survived it.
Exactly.
And remember, if you're a lifer and you've been in prison over 10 years, don't worry about filling out a job thing and saying, you don't have to say you've been in prison, because they can only go back 10 years.
So in other words, on a job application, if it asks you, have you been incarcerated?
You say no.
Typically, you can say no. Typically, have you been convicted is normally what it asks you. Have you been convicted of a crime? If it's been more than 10 years, you can legitimately say no because you haven't been convicted. Now, you may have been serving time longer than that, but you can say legitimately, truthfully, that you have not been convicted of a crime in the past 10 years, is
Yeah.
what your point is. So
That's
and
as
that's
far
important.
as they can go back. is
that's
10
as far
years.
as any
Yeah.
credit check, background check is gonna go. Now, of
Police
course,
can go back.
a business can't. I was gonna say, of course, if you're looking at government or whatever, they have the ability to go back further, but that's another whole thing. Don't be shy to start your own business using the skills that you learned while you were in prison. Oftentimes, employers don't want to hire ex-offenders. That is a fact. That's not a myth. It's true. Okay. However, I think about when I write that, I think about a lady who was so good at growing flowers that the institution allowed her outside of her dorm to create a garden. And literally every single visitor that they brought when they did a tour to prison, they always brought them to see her garden. Now, this lady was in my group. I think she said she was 68 or something like that. And she said, I hear you talking about preparing for work and everything. She said, but I've been a prisoner so long, and who's going to hire me? I said, doesn't matter. I said, you grow all those flowers, you always talk about that, grow them and sell them to Home Depot. Grow them and sell them to the smaller nursery around you. Grow them and sell them to the people in your neighborhood. These are things you can do that nobody can stop you from doing that. These are things that you don't have to, these are legitimate businesses that you can start on your own because these are skills that you have. Don't be afraid to use them. Do not be afraid to use the skills.
There is a lot of places that want to hire
Yeah.
Yes, there are.
ex-cons because they're more reliable.
Yes, believe it or not. Yes.
The airport is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
They're always at the houses trying to get people.
Really? So
Yeah.
you hear that? LAX, the airport is wanting to hire people who have been ex-offenders.
The city always hires you.
The city will definitely. I know when my mom passed, the week that she passed,
You can be a
we
bus
had
driver.
a contract. We had a contract with the city of LA, and we hired formerly incarcerated people to do alley cleanup and pothole repair. And those people actually got picked up permanently with the city. Only be responsible for what you're responsible for. You can't be responsible for things you could not control or did not do. Don't come home and let people put weight on you for things that you can't fix or do anything about. Whatever happened when you were incarcerated happened, and you cannot undo it. You can't change it. You can only be available for where you are now. A lot of people, there are a couple of categories. People want somebody to be exactly who they were before they went in sometimes, or nothing like that. And neither one of those is going to be true. There are pieces of you that are always going to be you. Always going to be who you are, no matter what. Then there are parts of you that died when you were in prison. Then there are going to be parts of you that grew or developed while you were in prison. And now all of these things have to come together Don't let somebody try to make you into something that they want you to be and try to live up to their expectations. You got to be on board with who you are. But this is why the first thing that I told you, if you're incarcerated, find out who you are. Spend some time learning who you are, developing yourself. Let's be clear. If you did a long time in prison, the mere fact that time has passed and you've aged,
Who you are or what you want to be.
either one,
You gotta be both.
you got to figure out. That's for you to decide. Nobody can decide that for us, right? We have to decide that for ourselves, who we are and what we want to be, right? And these are the things I encourage people to spend, because things do move slower in prison. It gives you the time to do that. When you're out here, it's not going to give you, it's not slow enough for all of that. It's just nonstop. And then the focus becomes totally different. But I say, you have the time, spend that time so that when you come out, that you'll know who you are, what you want, you'll have some idea of what it is, what you want to do and what you want to be. And that way it gives you a chance to work on those things, but don't let people put their expectations on you. Did you want to say something?
Mhm. So you get like I was incarcerated with this young lady she did 12 years. She didn't mess with a female nor a male, which would be the officers. And she came out and I said, "Ooh, wait till you get out. You're gonna be all right. You get to know yourself out there." And she started dating this guy, and for 5 years she messed up. And that's my thing. I encourage people not to be in a relationship.
When they
Because
first
you
come
don't
home.
even know, this is what, you do 30 years, you don't know who you are on this side. You know who you are there. You know what you like to do in there. You know what you like to eat. This world offers so much for you. And you just can't, what you're saying, don't come out here and just settle for what you're used to. This is a big world and it offers a lot of things for you.
It does. And like you say, like, you don't know what it can be out here. And that is one of the reasons that relationships often don't work when somebody's been inside and they've had a relationship going while they're inside. When they come out, it doesn't work because the person coming out is trying to decide who they are now.
No, because you already made a plan for you.
Mm,
You didn't make a plan for us.
mm.
You had a conversation about all the stuff that you wanted to do, but you forgot it was somebody else involved. So that plan is never gonna work.
But even if they did think they had a plan for us, what they encounter is usually different than what they expect it to be.
Mhm.
It's not the same. It doesn't go according to plan. So now they're trying to figure out, well, wait a minute. And it's so much going on. It's so confusing. And again, if they're not honest about what they're experiencing and they're not willing to even have a conversation, there's so many things going on that people don't even want to talk about what they're going through and what they're experiencing. So now, as the person trying to deal with them, what do? I don't understand what's happening. I don't understand what's going on. And I can't get you to talk to me about it. So the best thing for us to do is separate. And a lot of families die because of that. So I just say, don't let other people's expectations of you dictate what you try to do. Don't try to live up to their expectations. And then also stand your ground on your boundaries about who you are today and what you want today, as opposed to what it was in the past. You gotta, like you said, with your sister following you to the damn bathroom. Okay, can you just don't do that with me? I'm a grown ass man. I can make it to the bathroom and I can make it back.
That was a nice way of saying it.
Right, right. It wasn't the pike way to say that. Okay, so but again, these things matter. And again, you got to stand your ground with those things. And so I just encourage everybody, and I thank you for tuning in and listening and everything. And I want everybody to hear your last comments or thoughts before we close out for tonight. But I wanted to, because we have been having interviews and different things. I put up a couple of videos that I did with some people through Zoom, and I just did you? Yeah, and I wanted to just go through point by point some of the things that we've learned and discussed so that people understand how you can help yourself and how you can help your loved ones. So I want to start with you. Any last comments?
I would just say that it takes for both parties to have an open mind. And you kind of gotta have someone of greater power over you. So like, that's not to say any religious belief. I personally believe in God, but I feel like you have to know that someone stronger or someone of higher power.
There's a higher power than you.
Yeah, it has to be someone of higher power to control the situation. Because if you put all that on one another, it's not gonna work. Like you guys are gonna continuously clash. It's gonna be something because it's two different worlds matching.
And I think that is so wise for such a young woman. But that's very true. There has to be something that you look to that's higher than just what you guys think, because there has to be something that's going to mediate that. People are going to disagree. Period. Nobody's going to agree on everything. Essentially, it's the same thing I told my son about being married. You and your wife need some kind of spiritual something that y'all do together that you guys rely on. And I don't care what it is, but you got to have something. Because if you don't, there's got to be something that's the arbitrator or that's the decision maker or the final say in what it is that you're doing. So that's very useful. Anything for you?
So when I came home, I started emailing back saying, do what you do in there. Because when you get home, you're not gonna have time to do anything out here. So what you're saying is really true. It's that you have so much time in there to do whatever. Get knowledge, learn something, come out different, better than you were when you went in there. But when you get out here, it's just go. This is a fast-paced world, and that's a slow world in there. It's a small world. It's a slow world. It's out here. It's like lightning speed for you.
I appreciate that. That's why I just encourage it. Because if you went in, for example, and you didn't have a GED or a high school diploma, the world's never going to slow down enough for you to catch up and get that out here. You're gonna have to make a way, in addition to all the other things. And I also think not just that it's moving fast, but I think something else you said is important. All the options. So you didn't get to have a pork chop in here, right? You didn't have a choice of whether you wanted pork chops today or whatever, or you didn't have that. They
We
didn't
had
give,
them until the Muslims got us.
right, but still, I'm just saying. But bottom line is you didn't have that as an option. So out here, there's so many options. There are lots and lots of options. It's like sensory overload, right? Again, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Don't do the welcome home party with 1 million people when they first get home. Don't do it. It's too many people. It's too much with the music blasting and the people yelling and hollering and they touching them. Okay, it's too much. I'm just telling you. I know too many people that actually walked away from their welcome home parties because it was just too much going on. So there are a lot of options. It's moving very quickly. There are a lot of things you need to consider. And so take the time to do that while you're there. Anything for you, sir? Last comments.
Pick 3 things what's reasonable, not 3 things that you think you got coming, but 3 things that you feel are reasonable, and work on that when you come home.
That's all right. That's good advice. That's good advice. Darling.
Right. My thing is, you are in prison. You do feel bad, you do feel angry, but turn that anger and all that around to something positive.
Yeah, use it as motivation.
Yeah,
That's
turn it
powerful.
around.
That's
Turn it
really
around.
powerful. Use
Turn
whatever
it
you
around.
have as motivation and fuel
Turn
to
it
get
around.
you to the next place. And so I just want to thank everybody for being here. I want to thank you guys for listening. I just want to say, again, Free to Heal. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. Here we are. And we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.